Hey there, and welcome to Photoshop 301, Section 5 on 3D. In this section, we're going to show you how to use the 3D tools within Photoshop. Now, when it comes to 3D, a lot of people think about like video games and movies like Toy Story, where you've got characters actually like moving around and talking to each other, and there's really complicated 3D models, and you have backgrounds and things like that. And that is a really awesome use of 3D. Now, Photoshop is a lot more simple. So if you guys are interested in creating like movies and video games, there are actually much better programs for working in 3D. Those programs are like Maya and 3D Studio Max, which focus mostly on 3D. Now, Photoshop is basically like a photo editing and a graphics creation program. While it does have 3D, its capabilities are a lot more limited. So you can do simple things within Photoshop. So in this tutorial, we're going to show you all the Photoshop tools when it comes to 3D, but don't be expecting to go out and start working in Photoshop and then produce a movie like Avatar. That's just not going to happen, guys. But you can do really cool things, including 3D printing and creating some great graphics within Photoshop. So we're going to jump in and show you how to do both of those. So let's start off by opening up our images. We're going to hit Controller-Command-O to open. Now we've got here in our Photoshop 301, Section 5, here in our Images folder, let's go ahead and hit Controller-Command and open both of our TIFFs. All right. Now we're going to start off with our Flurn document here. So F for full screen. Okay, and we're going to start off by turning this layer into a 3D layer. So this is all you need. Basically, you can have any shape that you want. You can have text, you can have type, you can have a logo like this. You can turn all of that into 3D using what's called a 3D extrusion. So to get to that, simply go to Window and down to 3D. Okay, this is your 3D menu here. Next, we're going to go to Window and down to Properties. Okay, so these are kind of like they work together when you're working in 3D. Okay, so we're starting off with just this simple Flurn logo. In this case, it makes a lot of sense for me to use the Flurn logo. So what we're going to do is click on our layer here. And here in our 3D menu, we have a few different options. So we're going to start off here with our source. Okay, we're going to go to selected layers, but you can also do that with a current selection. You can create a 3D object from a file or a work path. In this case, we'll just go with the selected layers. Okay, now a 3D postcard, this is going to turn it into a flat 3D object. You can still rotate it around in space, but it's not going to have any depth. Okay, next we have our 3D extrusion. This is going to add depth to your 3D object. This is what we're going to be using most of the time. Okay, next we have our mesh from preset. And these are preset shapes here. So like cones and hats and pyramids and a soda can even. You can create all these presets within Photoshop. Okay, next you have a mesh from a depth map, which you can choose to have that be a plane, two-sided plane, a solid extrusion, all right, two-sided solid extrusion, a cylinder, and a sphere. Okay, and then we have a 3D volume as well. Now, in this case, we're going to be working with a 3D extrusion. Okay, so this is what I would recommend. When working in Photoshop, most of the time, you're going to be creating 3D extrusions. And basically, that creates a flat shape like this and extrudes it out, gives it a little bit more depth. Okay, so here on our layer, we've got 3D extrusion selected. I'm going to hit Create. There we go. Now I've got basically a little message saying the document default IBL.TIFF has an embedded color profile. We'll explain that in just a minute. For now, I'm going to go ahead and just convert that to our working space. Okay, let's hit OK there. All right, if you don't see that message, don't worry about it. Now, it also totally changed my window, my workspace. So from Window down to Workspace, you can see it changed it to my 3D workspace. Now, I actually don't prefer my 3D workspace. We're going to go back to the Flurn workspace. All you need when working in 3D here is your 3D panel and your Properties panel. That's all you need. And you can get to both of those by going to Window and 3D and Window and Properties, just like we clicked earlier. Okay, well, let's go ahead and click on this arrow. We're going to take a look at what is included within 3D in Photoshop. So basically, everything here makes up what's going on in Photoshop when it comes to 3D. Okay, so let's go ahead and start at the very top. First, we see our environment. Now, our environment, this is actually what is like lighting the entire scene. So earlier when it said there was a profile mismatch for the .ibl file,